of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This will be the roll call. Charles Gaga, here. Casey Noonan, absent. Steve Christensen.
Present.
Don Furrick. Here. Linda Lautner.
Present.
Looks like vacancy road commission. Oh, that's right, John Vogel was road commission. Never mind. Emma Ross. Here. John Walter. Here. Keith Bernoon.
Here.
One other vacancy. You have an agenda before you. Changes, additions, revisions that you'd like to make to the agenda. Otherwise, I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda. Motion to approve. A second.
Support.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Are you opposed? Is anyone have a conflict of interest relating to any agenda item on today's agenda? Hearing none, I'll assume there are no conflicts of interest. At this time, there's a public comment period. I would ask you to give your name and Mr. Lewis, if you'd like, you could come up here.
No, then you'll hit me. No.
I won't hit you. Even though the gavel is right here, I will not hit you.
Watch out, we bite.
No, you haven't yet.
Okay. So again, I would ask that you give us your name, the township that you live in, and then discuss whatever you would like us to hear. So, we'd like to make a public comment.
Where do I go? Here?
Right
Right
there.
in the middle there. You can sit.
Okay, I'm just gonna put this here. Hello, my name is Kim Bose, and I'm a resident of Centerville Township, and I brought show and tell and some handouts for you because I wanted to tell you about my experience. In September, I rode the lake ferry across to Wisconsin and went to Port Washington, which is a little ways north of Milwaukee. And at the end of the subdivision where my cousin lives was a playground called the Possibility Playground. And this playground had equipment in it that I'd never seen before. It is adaptive equipment for children of all abilities. And I have a grandson who is autistic, so I was very interested in seeing this playground. The storyboard here has pictures, but I'm going to leave pictures with you because I'm taking the poster with me. It was designed for all students and all abilities, although there is adaptive equipment for students who have disabilities. When I talked to my daughter, who is the mother of the autistic child, the first question that she asked was, is there a fence? And I said yes, because autistic children like to run, and she wanted to make sure that if she ever visited one like this, that he would be corralled. It was also equipped with rubber matting, and that's so that it's wheelchair accessible. And it also had a merry-go-round, which if you've ever seen children on a merry-go-round, they sometimes go rolling off and break a leg or something. The merry-go-round there was flush with the rubber matting. I'm telling you all of this because I'm hoping that you'll like this idea and someday we can build a playground together. There were two slides. One was a regular plastic slide. The other slide was metal. And what I was told was it is safe for cochlear implants, students who have cochlear implants. And although they don't hear very well, they can feel the vibrations and hear going down that slide a little bit easier. There's a little performance shell. And so children can walk into this little space that looks like a shell and perform and, you know, yell, and it has really good acoustics. There are chimes and gongs and wobble boards, which I found directly. I walked through it and I said, oh, this one's loose. And it went back and forth. And so I talked to my daughter about that. And she said they're made specifically for children who have balance issues. And this creates an exercise in their muscles to catch themselves. And teachers are finding that students are falling out of their chairs more often than they have before. So that's a way for them to create more muscles and do some exercise. I have presented this idea to the League of Women Voters, and they were happy to have me come and present it to you. They said that they would advocate if this is something that you choose to do. Parenting Communities is one of the representatives that is at the League of Women Voters. It's the early childhood education portion of League of Women Voters. And also Benzie Leelanau Health Department, Autumn is there. Hannah is the one for Parenting Communities. So I know I only have 5 minutes, so I'm gonna make this quick. Here are the photos that are on this board, and you may keep these, and I'll come back and get them sometime if you don't want them. There are handouts here that tell a little bit more about the possibility playground than I have time to talk about. You can keep those too. And there are some other resources on the second page down at the bottom where you can access a video to see what it really looks like. This would be something that would be accessible to all children, but especially those with special needs. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them if I know how. Yes.
Have you heard of a playground in Grand Rapids, Wyoming area called Frog Hollow?
Is it near the Meyer Gardens?
No, it's on the other side of the town. It's
Okay.
near the Metro Hospital.
Oh, okay.
That's the same thing. They set that up as for children with disabilities. And that's a pretty neat little playground. It's all
It is,
fenced in.
it's the most fascinating thing I've ever seen. And you'll see in some of these pictures, there are wooden slats all the way around the fencing area of people who donated. There is a website, Possibility Playgrounds, and it's on the handouts that's coming around, possibilityplayground.org/donate. And if you go to that website, you'll see some of the equipment close up, the merry-go-round. I asked about that. I said, why won't kids go spinning off on the merry-go-round? But they are wheelchair accessible. They can be locked in. Children, you know, sitting can be belted in. So it's all very safe. It costs a lot of money, but they also got, and you'll see in the handouts, a lot of the donations came from the community. A lot of the work was done by the community. They even got the Navy to come in and, you know, put in some volunteer time. So it's really a very interesting concept. And I just wanted you to know about that. And I'm excited about it. So if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. Okay.
Ma'am,
Yes.
then, confirm your name so I can get it for the minutes.
Oh, okay.
Anyone else like to make a public comment at this time? Okay. That brings us to any staff comments, Mr. Lewis.
I'll bring those up underneath my administrative updates.
Okay.
Next item is the consideration of the September 4th, 2024 meeting minutes.
I
which were emailed to
apologize.
you.
Oh, y'all did get it by email?
I believe they did. I got them by email.
I gave you as a draft.
Okay.
Okay, we'll just put that on your next meeting, so, okay.
The packet was sent by email.
And we have,
The packet was sent by
No,
email. The minutes
Oh,
are-
it was in the email packet? Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't see them. Are you after the grant house?
these minutes I don't see it in the packet.
Okay, I'll go pick them.
First thing.
Tell you what, we won't worry about that. They'll be on your next meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can assure you they will agree.
All right, so then discussion action items. The first item is a review of the revised grant management policy, which is pages 2 through 7 in your packet.
It was requested that I put this on the agenda so that you would be aware of it. The county commission, I think it was last month, or the month before that, adopted this revised policies of the grants management policy. This is as a result of, at least for the last 2 years, our auditors have made it quite clear that the policy that we were operating under was not sufficient for our operations. So we had our attorneys draft a new policy for us so that we would be in compliance with our auditors as well as with those that we receive federal and state funds from. So that's what this is about. Mainly, y'all have that in your packet, but what I really want you to is to take the main things that we need to be aware of is in section 1 under general provisions dealing with the grant application. Moving forward for all grants, there are 5 or at least 7 different steps that have to be undertaken. But the first one is that what you've already are aware of, that if there is an idea to move forward with the grant, we need to sit here and start having a project design and grant discovery. Mainly, before you move forward and requesting any type of a grant, it's made quite clear that we need to be provided with the city or the county administrator and finance director need to be provided with a copy of the grant that you're going to apply for and the reason that you are applying for that grant. It then becomes the responsibility of the county administrator and finance director to go through that feasibility and applicable grant to make sure it's in compliance with the current year. And we're saying for the current year because the county operates on a fiscal year. And of course, we review most of our applications or our capital projects that we're going to move forward with. But we want to make sure that we that what you're asking for is in compliance with what the county has adopted for that particular year. Once we have done that, then what will happen is it'll go to the next phase where we will put that onto the county commission's agenda to make sure that they are okay with it. Let me make sure I'm getting this right here. We will make the determination that the grant is administratively feasible and that make sure that the award is greater than the estimate cost of administration. In other words, if you were to apply for a grant that's only $15,000, it's going to cost us $16,000 to do all the paperwork for it. Guess what? We're not going to apply for it. You know, that's kind of a waste. So we want to make sure that we're getting our money back. Then we will if all that works out, then we will return a intent to apply. It'll probably come back like the state Department of Recognition. We will bring it back to you and say, okay, we're ready to go. Let's put everything together. And then we get everything put together into step 3, where we put everything together to make sure we understand what it is you want to do, how we do. And 2 weeks before the application deadline, or we want to make sure the application deadline, we get everything done. But this will have been done and approved by the county commission beforehand. So basically you got a backup counter. So whenever you're ready to apply for a grant, let's just take the 2% grants. We know when those grants have to be in. They got to be in on November the 30th. That's it. You don't get to send them in on December 1. So like we just did, we backed it up. The county commission will approve all of the submittals in the next couple of meetings. They'll look at them, they'll move them forward for approval on the 19th. At that point, all the letters and everything you want to do, we will submit everything on behalf of all the grantees moving forward. But you needed to come in front of the county commission back a month ago, back in October, to make sure, are we okay with it? Do you want them to do it? Instead of you going around writing all that information and putting it all together, you want to know if the county commission is going to be okay with you doing the legwork to put it together, which most everybody has completed those. But you had to start that back, for the Parks and Rec Commission earlier than that, because the Parks and Rec Commission needed to say, yeah, we want you to go apply for that. So it's one of those things you got to think your way through it and work backwards, not work forward. Oh, we will just put it in next month. It's not going to happen that fast. But again, it's the way to do that we look at. But we definitely want to make sure that we get everything done, completed in our hands 2 weeks before the application deadline. And then, of course, the finance director will make sure it's all looked through, everything's complete, and then it gets submitted by the county to, I guess, to whatever process we have to go through. If we're going for a state grant, there's a way that happens. If it's for travel grants, we will send that off. Of course, funds then come in if we're awarded, the funds will come in. We put all those funds into the right spot. We'll look at the original grant agreement. Anything that needs to be done is signed from that point on to make sure there's not any extra burdens that are on the county that we were not aware of. I know on the last go around, there was a grant applications out there that we had not seen any sample of what the grant contract was going to look like. What were those conditions? We had an idea, but until you see that grant and they send this grants back to you, they want signatures. And that's our job as county staff to make sure, can we comply with what they want us to comply with? If we can't, then we got to have a discussion. There's also the accounting that will be handled by the finance department. All funds that are received goes to the county treasurer. All funds that are spent goes through the finance department. And then, of course, there's the next few steps. There's the monitoring, and some of these grants you have to have. Depends on the grant. You have to have someone that monitors the debt. Especially if you're having to comply with any laws of the federal wage laws or state wage laws. Someone's got to monitor and keep up with those records. Usually, if it's that detailed, you'll hire an outside counties or entities will hire an outside firm to go through that and make sure all that documentation is done. And sometimes we have grants that, like I know in our solid waste, we have grants that we usually try to get renewed every year. So we go through that exercise. But I think if you look through steps 1 through 7, they should give you a pretty strong outline about how these things will work. Again, you got to work backwards from when a grant application is acceptable, and usually what the state will usually give you like 2 or 3 months of notice of that we have these grants available. There may be other agencies that we look at that will also have other deadlines. That's how we want to work backwards. I've just done a very brief Reader's Digest, but if anyone has any questions of that, we'll be more than happy to go through it again. And I'll have Kathy in here to go through it in more detail. She's trying to finish up the budget work right now, for next week. So, Keith, I hope I covered as much as I could cover and gave you what I could. So,
okay. Is this the time for my motion then?
For what's that?
Or are you going to discuss that further for the document?
For what's that?
The document you gave us to go through. Were you going to discuss?
Oh, no, that's for later on.
Okay, all right.
No, you wanted to know more. This was on because you requested to know more about this grant.
Yeah, I could say.
Policy.
Yeah, I mean, so we do have a grant writer then that will submit all of our information.
We don't necessarily, we do not necessarily have a grant writer on staff. A lot
Right,
of
but is
times.
that what we're looking for as far as when you hire,
Well,
hire
it depends,
somebody?
well, it depends on the project. Sometimes we can do that in-house, but on things such as, let's say, designing a walkway over a dam.
Mhm.
We don't have an engineer on staff. We do that outside of staff. They put it all together, put the RFP together too. If it's a much more difficult or much more complex, yeah, we may hire an outside firm to help us. There's firms, planning firms and such like, locally, statewide, that helps you put grants together. They find them for you. A lot of times they do the work just for the administration fee. So there's really no, but they help put all that together. So yes.
It would be good if we could, if they hired somebody that could be a general grant writer, that we wouldn't have to go through that process of contracting somebody to do that.
There are, I know that, and it's one of those things that had been on my list, but with numerous other things. There are individuals that I know that are in the Grand Traverse area that do that. That all they do is they hire themselves out to write grants. That's all they do. And they're individuals, they're self-employed. They do that, but they mainly where they get their fees, they may get some fees from the organization that's hired them to do that. Sometimes they do it because, okay, if you get the grant, then, 20% or whatever percentage is allowed for administrative costs. That's what their fee will be. So it's a different arrangement for each one of us.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion on this subject? Let's move on to the beaver activity at Veronica Valley Park. They're back, let's put it that way.
Here's the beaver.
I think, I have received emails that the beavers are back in full action or in action at the Veronica Valley. The only thing I haven't done yet is get in contact with the DNR. I know that you've hired an individual in the past to see if they can trap and dispose of the beavers. What I want to do, having been through these beavers incidents in the past, I need to call the DNR to make sure that all T's are crossed and I's are dotted, because they just not going to necessarily, if I remember correctly, when I was in Suttons Bay, we had to fill out and get a permit to dispose of the beavers. You just don't get to walk in and do that. Yeah, and no, you just don't get to do that. You gotta fill out a permit and you gotta say who, and you gotta tell them who's gonna do the work and whatever. I knew there's, recently I had done that a little over a year ago. And then once you get it all done, the beavers may not even be around. But that's just, but I gotta make sure with the DNR before I move forward. If the fee is about the same of $800, I would say that's under the administrative fee. It's a maintenance item that we would just take on, but that's what I'll look at, because we don't want them to do any more damage than that they're going to do. So,
Joe, don't beavers fall under small game? If you have a license, can't you trap?
I don't recall. I don't know, but I just remember that in Suttons Bay we had to go through a process to make sure we had permission.
I mean, I think the trapper that we use does have all the necessary permits and fees and whatnot for doing it in the past. I mean, essentially, he comes with those things. I don't know that we have to take independent action to get a separate permit. I'll let you examine that.
Yeah, I will do that. I mean,
Make sure we're legal.
yeah, that's the last thing we need is for some reason or another, something didn't, the T wasn't crossed or I's dotted, and all of a sudden, the DEQ or Department of Natural Resources said, county, you didn't quite do the process the correct way. So I will be following up with that and working on it. So.
Move on to administrative updates, board vacancy updates.
Okay. Next, just so you know, of course, we know that we have 2 vacancies. Next week, the county commission will be reviewing 2 individuals that have applied to fill the vacancy of Mr. Pogba for the remainder of that term, and it's going to be a special session, so hopefully they will select one of the 2 that can start immediately. Also, the road commission at that time will quickly turn around and hopefully have a recommendation who they would like to have to fill out to complete to serve on this body. The other one, we thank you for those of you who have turned in your requests to stay on the board. We compiled all those. The commission will probably, at this point, dealing with vacations and time off, will be around December the 10th. They will go through all the recommendations, and we will get the vacancies. The one vacancy we will fill to complete that term, or I can't remember if that was a term that needs to be completed, but anyone else that would like to be on that term, and all those who would like to be continue just to stay on this. So stay tuned. You guys will be notified in December, and we'll let everybody know. So there we go. Okay.
Can I ask though?
Yeah.
Have we been getting any more applications?
Well, she's not here.
But I think in general, we could say to this group that we need more people to apply, correct?
Well, the deadline was Monday. Yeah, we've been trying to do that, but if we need to go further, we'll try to do a review and get some information back. We may want to extend the deadline, and we're not going to do anything until December, so.
Well, I think when I talked to Lauren
It was
Wednesday
pretty,
last week, there was like.
it was pretty slim,
Yeah, maybe Charlie wasn't, but yeah.
We had a couple of
Can't
folks on
make a
this board
decision.
that just let us know very recently that they were willing to stick around, but that's okay.
I responded to your email.
Yes.
I didn't even know my term was up.
But can't we extend the deadline if we are really not adequately?
We will have that discussion next week
As a board?
at the board. It's be up to the board what they want.
Thank you.
But we'll try to have an assessment for you where we are. Okay,
GTE Foundation tree planting.
first of all, the county board did approve the grant, or I don't know if it's a grant or a gift, however, which way you want to do it, the foundation tree planting. We were starting to try to move things along pretty quickly, but all of a sudden, we all kind of realized that it was, as I said, felt like we were trying to put 10 pounds of fertilizer in a 5-pound bucket. We were trying to move something, just knew that something just wasn't going to go right. So, and also the lead person had to make a trip to Florida. It seems like, with a couple of hurricanes and her expertise in trees, she needed to be down there to do some help. So with their recommendation and DTE's approval, we'll continue with the tree planting in the spring, and so we could work with the Veronica Valley, maybe we can have some better locations of where we're gonna plant the trees, how you wanna plant them. Keith, you had mentioned something that on the plan, there's some things about a grove, or however we wanna go, what kind of trees, so it gives us more time to think about it and do it a better way. But also the goal of this program is to bring the community out, and so they can see learn the proper way of planting trees, in the community, if I read the notes right.
So one of the naysayers on this wanted this board to approve that. Can we do that today? Or will we have to do that before we do it in the spring to make sure that we follow
So
the
as far as I'm
process?
concerned, it's been approved by the county commission.
Okay,
Now, unless you all decide you don't want the trees,
I'm just saying that was a problem.
I understand that, and I worked with Charlie and with Keith on that, and I understand it, but as quickly as we had to turn that around, I made the call and I did it, so if everyone wants to blame anybody, you can blame me, so. I
But you
did
will
it.
be around in spring maybe when we do this. So do we need to get approval again from the board?
No.
Or this is all,
This has all been
Green light.
planned, it is in the works, the board has approved it unless the board decides they don't want trees.
okay,
So-
thank you.
I will admit that I was erroneous on this issue. Okay, When I was approached, I thought I was just answering the question, would we like to get trees at Veronica Valley? And I said, I don't know of any reason why we wouldn't get more trees at Veronica Valley.
Yeah.
And that was essentially the discussion, which then led to the proposal before the Board of Commissioners, before it had come here.
Correct. My guess is I'm probably the naysayer.
Yes.
Yeah, which I made it very clear. It wasn't about the trees, it was about the process. I made that very, very, very clear, not naysaying trees. So you're right, it should have come to this board first. We also, as we talked about it being approved retroactively by this board. It's already gone through the Board of Commissioners prematurely. I don't see I think it deserves discussion at this board, because you're absolutely right. 2 members of this board can't make this decision to even accept free trees. I mean, there's a lot that could or could not have been discussed about that. So, just for future, as long as it's done by policy.
Is there a number
Procedure.
set for the number of trees?
Minimum of 20. It could be more than that.
It has to be 20.
Minimum of 20.
Minimum of 20.
I did talk to Scott Bradley, and he said if we did have extra trees, he knows that he would recommend really good places at Miles Kimberly too, so
So.
I think 20 is the minimum.
But we just, I don't know, the way everything was trying to roll out, just realized that he's trying to get everything done in November. It was just gonna be, push was coming to shove, it just wasn't gonna happen. Not do it right. That's if this board wants to take action on this, I'll be glad to have it on your next meeting. And you can take action on it if that's what you choose to do. But like I said, the county commission has approved it and accepted it, so it's up to you. I tried to give you all the emails. Also, there was a question about the agreement. There's only one agreement that they want us to sign, is mainly to make sure that we, yearly maintenance, you can see it's a 1-page agreement, mainly to try to make sure we fertilize and water the trees as much as we can. So this is the agreement, so.
Steve,
So,
When do we identify the kinds of trees, the species?
I don't know how to find out for you. I don't know.
Well, Ellie will do that
Okay, I was sitting with Ellie and Tom,
Yeah.
trying to figure this all out, but okay.
in the
So
spring.
So she'll be able to
Yep.
be ahead of that.
She's gonna be the project leader. Yeah.
this Keith,
Do we want to involve, say, a school, they have like an arbor society or something like that, have them involved with this? Like a field trip?
I mean, it is intended that we would have some volunteers to work with. I think whoever the forester is that's gonna be doing it.
Yeah.
To do the actual planting,
Okay,
and the site selection will be up to the forester for the best location, but.
right.
And that was one reason why we held up, because we didn't think we can. I think there was the director of this program, and the way the conversation was going, could we meet the objective of getting groups, children, or anybody else out there in this, and get this to come together the right way to meet the objective? And we realized, I think everyone just realized it was just gonna be tough, and why, planting trees, but still, we wanted to make sure that it was going to be done the right way. That's why they were willing, as well as DTE was willing to say, sure, do it in the spring and let's do it the right way.
When
We really didn't discuss this yearly maintenance schedule. Has that been by our Parks and Recreation employees? This is, if you talk 20 trees or more, we've only discussed Veronica Valley. Now I've heard Miles Kimberly thrown in there. Who's going to do this watering? That's a lot of water. And 15 gallons a week per tree. Or provide gator bags. I've got no idea what those cost. Who would
They
do
supply the gator bags.
gator bags?
The relief organization donates those with each tree that's planted.
Okay, but it says yearly maintenance schedule, watering, water twice a week, or provide gator bags. So they will provide those instead of us.
Correct.
And that's not very clear. Okay, and mulching, I don't expect they're gonna provide the mulch.
Yes, they do.
They provide the mulch yearly. Are they going to come and do all this then? Who does all this then?
The maintenance is on us. The installation is on volunteers and the project managers.
So, but they are providing the mulch.
They
Every
provide the
yearly?
cost.
Yearly, we have to have mulch. Who brings that to the trees?
The county will.
Village of Northport has done this on several occasions with relief, and it really goes smoothly. The DPW up there digs the holes. If somebody decides where to put the holes, they dig the holes. The trees are delivered. The community gets very involved. The Lions Club gets involved. The school gets involved. People come out. Sometimes we did it at Arbor Day, and we had homes given and everything. It's really a community event. And we should try to get something like that for Veronica Valley.
And they weed around, they do all the weeding. So we don't have a DPW here.
Oh, you can go maintenance department, so you'll have to.
Okay, so that's my question. Has
Yeah, right, you have to
maintenance
do that. 'Cause
expects to throw this
the trees
into?
are planted by the community, but the holes are dug by the
Right.
DPW in Northport as well.
Or
We
other
talked about
volunteers
having
that
Or
will.
volunteers.
A volunteer dig the holes, that's no problem, but it's the watering and mulching, weeding, all of, that.
Can we put this on a future, we've got someone in the audience
Yeah.
we need that has to leave at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
So since we don't have to make a motion or any action today, right? Can we?
Let's put it on the next agenda for.
Thank
Well, I actually have a question, who's going to sign the, 3-year tree maintenance agreement? We didn't approve that, I don't think.
Well, then I'll put it on the agenda in December and you can deal with it, okay? It's obviously you don't want to do this, but we'll just move it on.
Richard, that's not true, and calm down a little bit.
No, I'm not
My
calming
question
down a little
was-
bit.
Was
You don't want
policy,
trees.
I love trees, and
So do
when
I.
they're, okay, when there's somebody who's going to take care of them. So it's policy and procedure, and as you said, you've got the grant policy here. So we skipped it last time, and we got this far, but now you're talking about a signed agreement. Once again, we've got policies and procedures when it comes to grant agreements, so.
I will have the lead guy from Northport come to the next meeting and discuss and talk about it. Let's put this on December's agenda. Okay. Right, moving on to whatever the next topic was, which is the budget update.
One thing about the budget update, I did put it in here, the only major change that is going to be, that is taking place from what you have seen previously is under capital outlay. You'll see what had been presented was the $55,000 for future projects. What was added was the additional funds to buy the tractor for mowing in the next fiscal year. So that's the major difference that is in it. But everything else that had been presented in the past, previously to you, is hopefully going to be moving forward and being approved at the November meeting. So, and the only other thing that's in here that you probably didn't see before, but it deals with salaries and all that kind of stuff, but that's all part of what we want to know. But I just wanted you to see that part of it, that's what's moving forward.
That's a tractor.
That's
an expensive tractor.
Isn't that a big
Well,
thing?
it's between 55, what is that, 28,000? Yeah, it's a mower, it's a multi-use type. And we'll be putting together a bid spec to go out there and.
So piece of property.
Moving on to the appointment of the facilities director.
Just let you know that Mr. Pat Roach will be joining our organization starting next Tuesday as the facilities director. And we'll be having him here at future meetings to start working with the Parks and Rec Board. As noted earlier, the commission has approved the staffing of that.
I'm sorry, Richard, hold on a second. Oh, sorry, I can't hear what you were saying.
Well,
Go ahead. Sorry.
Pat Roach will be joining us starting next Tuesday, but part of his work schedule is to be the liaison with this board, the Parks and Rec Board, to be that step liaisons to move forward with it and be more attentive to working with you on the grants, the different programs, working with staff to make sure things get done out of the parks. So you'll be able to meet him next week, or next meeting. Make sure he's here.
Thank you.
He'll be the one that'll be helping to draft the agendas and things such as that moving forward. Okay.
Not to
So
go back.
when you ask for a staff update, that's who you ask.
Okay, so not to go back to the previous topic too much, but it's something that we were talking about for this tree planting and tree maintenance and whatnot would then fall under this facilities manager's title to then arrange for staff to do the stuff necessary.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, update on the disc golf course at Miles Kimberly Park, the tribal 2% grant application.
Well, county said move forward, put together a grant application. Everything's been submitted. Thank you very much. And it'll be on the agenda next week to start the process for approval. With final approvals be given on the 19th, and then the county will just submit all that application along with the others to the tribe. So thank you. I just want you to know that it did move forward. So
How many other applications for the 2% are you reviewing?
I kind of want to remember it's about 10 we ended up with.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Right, 9 to 10, somewhere in that ballpark.
And does the county only select one or?
Oh, no, we'll submit
They'll
all of them.
all be moved forward more than likely.
More than likely, unless the county commission decides that they don't want to, that does not want to submit one.
There's no limit on the county.
No.
I would just like to, Greg's here and I want to, publicly thank him for all the incredible work that he did with Don and I to make this grant possible. He really knows the disc golf business. And we just helped put it into the right format. And
He did a great job.
he did an amazing job and we are so
That's why
fortunate
he
to
was-
have him there.
So did he.
I did want to say too, though, that on our draft, it says 17,000 was the projected cost. When we dove in deeper and updated that cost, it did go up a little bit. And I want to make sure the committee, the commission knows that, time had gone by and we got into the nitty gritty of what that grant should look like to make best use of the facility and the materials as they get moved from one course to the next. We worked really hard to find community support. We feel like we've got a really solid application, but the price was higher, like anything. I'm sure when you go through it, but I just want to make sure that we maybe could.
What is it?
What's that?
What did it end up at?
I can't pull it.
Oh.
It's so frustrating.
That increase was mainly based on labor costs.
Oh,
We
that's
were
just,
thinking it was gonna be
Well, some
done.
materials too, probably.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But you just get.
I'd like to make sure that in our plan that we just reflect what the true cost we
Yeah.
are projecting, our estimate is for this project, so.
we will. I'll tell you
We'll
what,
make sure that it's in the capital improvement schedule.
if-
Whatever the number is, let me know.
Okay.
If it moves forward, I say, yep, I'm pretty sure it will, but I don't have to make the final decision. We'll send you a copy of it, or at minimum, we'll have it in the packet so you can see what did get submitted to the tribe. Along with the letters of support, so we'll just put in what got submitted, because while the county commission will just see the actual grant applications, so now we don't need to put all the letters of support in there at that time. But the final will have all the letters of support that have been submitted to us. So if you got more coming in, we'll hold off as long as we can before we have to submit, but we do want to make sure it gets there before Thanksgiving. So there you go. So
Once again, Greg did an awesome job. I think we have 10, 12 or more letters of support
very good.
for this project in our community. So, just stellar work. Thank you so much.
Which then allows us to segue into the next thing, which is the Parks and Recreation 5-year plan. We reviewed the document which was updated just this week, which you all received. I believe that's the copy, the hard copies.
Okay.
At this point, it's open for you to make comments. suggested changes, suggested revisions to what's in the document. So Tiffany can get those down. Hopefully, we will come out of this saying, okay, that's our changes and whatnot to the document she has. And we'll then make a motion for the Board of Commissioners to set a public hearing at their meeting in December. But let's go through the process first of updating. So the first one I'm going to actually talk about is in the pages for the action plan. I had a discussion with Dave Barron's pertaining to the installation of wildlife viewing and birding locations, platforms and blinds. And he said that the Veronica Valley Committee had revisited the topic, rethought about it, and determined that they really didn't want to go through the expense and whatnot to install platforms and those types of things. Just a mowed area where people can stand to view wildlife or birding was sufficient in their opinion.
So you want to take that out?
So I want to take out the two things, the grant application
and the
and
actual.
the money for installing the blinds and the platforms.
I made copies of that capital improvement schedule if anybody needs them.
If anybody needs one.
Okay. I didn't bring enough because I didn't have much.
We can make copies.
They're in this plan.
Okay.
I just don't have a plan.
That's okay. We got that. John, how do you-
That's the only item I had. I mean, I've already said most of my suggestions to Tiffany.
Oh, you
So
have that too.
I'm looking more for other people to make comments at this point.
Do we want to go through page by page? Because we had some
Yeah.
changes.
Well, I would rather just go, chapters 1 through 5.
Right.
I,
Because Steve found a few things.
Z Traverse City, it's just Traverse City. That's the last paragraph, page 3.
we caught most of them from the last one, but we didn't catch them all.
Say Traverse County for some reason. The old
Yeah,
plan-
the old plan said Traverse County because somebody just did a find replace and we tried to catch them all.
So it says the Traverse,
Which paragraph is it?
next to the last line.
Oh,
It says the Traverse City, it's just Traverse City.
all right. I think she may have caught that one. Major population, small portion of Traverse City, southeastern corner of Leelanau. Traverse City serves as a regional center. Do I have the right one? Oh, I got it. I found the. Thanks.
Next paragraph, we left off the town of Lake Leelanau.
Yeah, like Leelanau needs to be put in there.
Oh,
Can we go back? I have something on page
Yeah.
2, or maybe it's someplace different too, but.
Are the page numbers the same as the original draft?
yeah. What you have is what I'm looking at.
So the mission,
Yes.
that was adopted in 2002. I have a concern that this is an updated plan and we have not looked at our mission since 2002. I think that's probably something we lacked and we should have done. I wondered if we could put that on our agenda for another meeting and insert an updated mission.
Absolutely. So what is gonna happen is I'm gonna go back to the office and the changes will be made. And then a link to this will go for public review for 30 days. So if you guys catch something in the next 30 days, totally can make the changes. And then it will go, well, after you make your motion for the county board, it'll go to the county board to be adopted. So you have those 30 days to come up with a new mission. Is that gonna be enough time?
Can we put it on the December meeting or?
Your next meeting will,
I don't,
is December the 4th.
and when's I should have this in here.
That's December the 4th, and the county commission will not be, with the way I have the dates with,
I believe the public
Yeah.
hearing we wanted to have. was
17th.
17th.
would be on December the 17th.
So you can come up with a new one, because basically it'll be up for public review until December 11th, so that gives you kind of a week.
Is that something we could put on our next agenda to?
Hammer out.
I just think this doesn't really reflect why I serve on this committee. And I would challenge anyone else maybe that might feel the same way that we could do a better job, making it more reflective of what we really are doing today.
Okay, I mean, do we want someone to draft?
Well, I did my homework.
I saw the
And
homework.
offer that as a starting place, but I'm not necessarily, I think this is obviously a process. I would love to spend a day on it. I know I won't get that, but, you know, if anyone hasn't seen these, lifted from other area counties, I went down to Pennsylvania, went out to LA, we could do a better job. I just know we could, and I just hope the time works out.
You can wordsmith it. You have, a month, I assume you can talk amongst yourself and probably send yourself, I don't know, this is what I'd like to start with, and then people can comment on it. So yes, absolutely, you have time.
Great, thank you. Is that gonna be on the agenda, Charlie?
Yes.
Okay, thank
I've
you,
got it, yeah.
thank you.
All right,
Page 12.
all right, here we go.
Flow chart. I love the flow chart. It's too tiny.
Oh, all
I agree.
right, so in some, that's very good.
Maybe a fold-out page or something.
I can't, maybe it'll have its own page.
I think if it was on one page.
I'll have its own page. Now, there were comments about this not being updated. I want to say something about HR. But I think that, I know, right? I can't even read it. So that's a very good comment. The other one was bigger. I don't remember what happened.
Well, if this is gonna be on a website, then obviously people can,
Yeah, we can do better. We'll
Yeah.
put it on its own page.
Page 24.
All right.
Veronica Valley Park is 92.37 acres, not 68.
92.3.
92.37.
How about 93?
We can round it up.
Yeah, we'll do 93.
Yeah.
I wonder how that got, okay.
Well, it's interesting, when you go to the county website, you just, a couple more pages in, it's the outline of Veronica Valley. It's in two property tax ID parcels.
Oh, they needed to be added together.
One that's on that page is the lower one, and then there's another upper one.
Gotcha, so it's
And you- And
connected.
you go on, when you got Gosling Zubeck's drawing in there, it's the whole
It's the whole one.
it's the whole thing, but
Okay.
that acreage will kind of haunt the whole document, so you'll have to kind of.
Well, yeah, because I have needs and deficiencies. Okay, yeah.
um,
Yes,
so with
all
that,
out.
on events, we do have local schools that use the park for outings, field days,
DNR fishery, fishery, high school cross-country meets and
field trips,
local
field trips.
school. Right.
I think you gotta go back to page 1. Right at the start, we capitalize open space and recreation, and I'm not sure that should be capitalized. Page 1, right at the start.
Oh. Park and recreation and open space. Yeah.
So we have to open space and recreation.
Oh, I have a problem with capitalizing everything, so that'd be my problem.
Now I'll go to page 4, my own personal thing. We define square miles of water, Leelanau County has 2,185 square miles of water, but you kind of have to define that. People might think, well, gee, that's all in the lakes, but it's not, because that would take up the whole Leelanau County, and we wouldn't have any land. So it's confusing to me, that's all. And it doesn't matter whether you change it or not, I just want to mention that.
I'll add some more information to it, so it actually has some context.
And then on page 21, I'm catching up. When, I don't know if it's Cedar or Maple City, or that's right now, it's just Cedar Maple City Lions. And I don't know if it's just the Cedar or the Maple City Lions when they started working on the park. We'll have to figure that out.
Right, I just have Cedar Lions Club in 74, but and now it's called the Cedar.
That group is now called the Cedar Maple City Lions. But back then, when they started, back in 40, I don't know what the name was.
I believe it was the same. It's always been
Well, you
that.
know,
It's always been the Cedar Maple City
It
Lions?
should be Cedar Maple City.
Cedar slash Maple City.
Got it.
And I know Maple's been connected with you. Remember Glenn saying Maple?
And my last comment is just on update to 66 to 67. And that's all the priority, where we do first and everything, and
Oh, yeah.
that was made out. I think you did that, or I'm not sure. This committee didn't do that.
This?
It's right here, projects by year, the capital improvements plan. Yes.
That was the major topic of discussion today. Yeah, that's, I think I had sent it
I
out.
think that's something that, it's like the example is the last thing on there is the dog park. Maybe it should be there, I think it probably should be there, but I don't know. But this committee never got together, and we never talked about,
That's for the,
what do we really want to do?
are we done with chapters 1 through 5?
That's the majority of this meeting is supposed to be for these changes.
Richard, you'll update page number 1 with an updated commission and all the names and stuff, right? We won't forget that.
And that's gonna be all changed in January, right?
January 2nd.
Because this will be adopted in January.
It'll be adopted in December, I think.
Yeah,
It could
so
be
Does
adopted,
it reflect
let's put
current or
it,
the next?
it could be adopted in December.
that's when the meeting is. And so it will be what is adopted at that time.
I think it's the current board if it's adopted in December.
And that's who's adopting it,
Yeah.
right?
The other
The
thing is,
transition.
The members of this committee, we'd like you to add back John Pope's name into it.
Oh,
He passed away
I know.
recently, so let's leave his name in there for this time.
okay, yeah.
Any other comments on anything related to chapters 1 through 5?
Planning and public input process? Is that one of them?
That's chapter 5. I
That's
believe.
5. Oh, I'm into 6, sorry. I'll wait for 6.
Oh, what do you have?
Interesting, it's goal 6,
I'll go some-
promote environmental sustainability of the parks. And we've got, just thinking of Roanoke Valley especially, we started off with a prairie savanna kind of concept. And we're planting trees and that's gonna blend in, Campbell was on it, Ellie's on it, so that's all blending together. And then, when you talk about the natural succession, in that case, it would be back to forest. I think, it's gonna be natural, but we're gonna plan it and guide it. And if we aren't careful, we'll have more invasives than we can deal with. So it's,
Okay,
I don't know.
you want to make sure
It's
that,
not natural, like the invasives roar in
It's restore,
naturally.
restoration, right?
yeah, encourage the
know.
conversion back to.
Plan, use the word planned forestry or monitored or.
It's just restoration of property.
Restoration is the-
Yeah, I'm gonna take the first 3, encourage the conservation of property back to, I'm gonna say restore property. And,
Yeah, restoration.
yeah, yep. I know what you're getting at. Do we really want the invasives to come back in?
Anything else on chapter 6?
I did put better pictures in, guys. I know some of them were. Thank you for giving me some, and so if you look, the photographs are a lot better than they were before.
You'd be mixing and matching and kind of jacking them around rather than.
I did, well, so they kind of show up amongst each one of the sections, and then the top header has one from each park, and then the parks themselves just have all the amenities. And the cover is better. Actually, what does your cover look like? Because I changed my pictures. Better?
These were not that.
We're not including park signs
No, because they're not very consistent, so I did not do that.
Okay,
This one, okay, so that's okay. I picked those, I just wanted to see if they actually made it. Find it. The one that said, I do not want the pump at Old Settlers, yeah.
When I'm looking at the deficiencies, just for my own knowledge, I mean, those are the county parks, and all the parks that are in this county,
I
are
know,
you deficient at all?
are we deficient at all? I mean, when I look at the aggregate of all the parks, from townships and counties and national parks and
they, so, and this is always a question of the committees, we're really just looking at your county parks proper. And it appears as though it's deficient, but we know based on the other parks that are shown in this plan that you truly aren't. And actually, believe it or not, I think it's, you have to look at, if you add all the rest of them in, it gives you a skewed view of what is actually you're maintaining that are the county parks. So are you really, yeah, you're deficient, but
I mean, for grant purposes, it
Doesn't mean anything.
deficient or not deficient.
it doesn't matter.
Okay.
You'd rather be deficient, to be honest with you. And mostly because if, I always say, somebody leaves a bunch of land, you want to be deficient, right? So you can acquire it, that kind of thing, yeah.
Is there any way that we can track out of county visitors that utilize our parks?
Well,
That help towards a grant process to say we have,
Well, we do it.
right,
and, one of the public, or one of the survey questions, I think the first or second one asks if you actually live in the county.
right.
So that's the only tracking I could do at this
Okay.
time. But,
And we don't keep track of who's actually showing. some
Right.
No.
We do have some pretty strong data for the disc golf, though, which was, I thought, great.
And that really doesn't matter for.
Kids fishing also brings a lot of
All
people.
over.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Soccer, fields.
Yeah, there's one grant question, if you're like for trust fund grants, which would applicable to these parks, that information could be put in. Doesn't necessarily have to be in here. When you write the grant applications, really all you do is you reference the pages in your rec plan that talk about the grant that you're going for. If that makes sense.
Okay, moving on to chapter 7 for goals and objectives.
To back up to what you said, could the chapters be numbered as well,
Page numbers.
page numbers? You give the one through 5, or chapter 2, 1 through 5, whatever,
Ah, Julie can do that, no problem.
or just read on through plan. Right,
She has chapter 1 numbered.
But there is numbers on the left-hand side, right?
Yeah, right at the pole.
They are all numbered. What are,
They start out on the outside of the
Yeah.
pages, you're right, and then they move to the inside, so just move them back all out to the outside of the pages. They're
I see what, I think it's
lost.
because we added a page in there, so it changed them all around. So I'll have a look at it.
Okay. Yeah, they're getting lost in.
Yep.
Any
7.
changes, additions, or revisions, whatever you'd like to make to goals and objectives?
I was wondering about the permanent restroom buildings and that's pie in the sky when you win the lottery or,
I mean, looking at the survey responses, the negative responses we got in the last section, the biggest things that were negatives were the state of the restrooms, whether that's the porta potties, the pit toilets, and then we don't have any flush toilet restrooms, so that's not applicable. And the one that was really the worst was Miles Kimberly Park.
Well, we know that one
People
is.
just they don't even want to use it. That's the restroom building. So the question is, do we set our goals to do something to upgrade those facilities?
Versus adding, because that's just adding right now. Well,
Says
those,
here we do that in 2030.
Yeah,
well, that, I moved it at the very end so
Yeah.
that,
and
it's
that's-
still up.
That's the barn, right?
yeah, that is the barn, the two
Which,
restroom buildings
You
at the
know,
barn.
essentially, they're limited to what they can currently do by the fact that we don't have bathrooms in the barn.
Right.
So they can't hold any general assembly type activities within the barn. They can have tours and bring people through as long as they're not in the barn for more like 20 minutes or something like that. So it's really limiting the historic preservation group as to what they can actually do in the barn. And we have a lease with them to do their programming for the barn. So did we move that, do we accelerate that program, that the installation of bathrooms?
I guess we're on that section now.
Well, the comment about the toilets was in general, it wasn't just about.
It wasn't just about the pole barn, I mean, the poor barn, yes.
It was, all restrooms and then we-
It doesn't even have restrooms right now.
and the objective is to add permanent seasonal restrooms to parks if needed. And I think we talked, because Miles Kimberly restrooms are in terrible shape. However, you have portable toilets on an annual basis and they seem to function well. And you put permanent restroom in, then you have to maintain them. And right now, when you have the porta potties, somebody comes and maintains them for you. So it's a big maintenance. I mean, and if you put them in the poorhouse, I'm making the assumption that that group will maintain those restroom buildings. Is that the case?
That's a good question.
That's why I have it way far out.
The Leelanau Township has like, I don't know, I might not have the numbers exactly right, but for their Parks and Rec, they've got like $160,000 line for the year.
Yeah.
More than half of that money goes for maintenance of the toilet facility at the marina. So you're talking 60 grand, and it's not even open through the winter.
You don't have to do them of that type of maintenance. You build them up front, which are a little less maintenance, but they do require maintenance. I mean,
You'd be hiring a company.
oh, I know. It's $60,000.
Well, that's sort of my question, with the pit toilets we have today, who's cleaning those?
They just come out and pump them out once a week or whomever you hired.
That's porta potties, pit toilets aren't pumped that often, I don't believe, are they, Jerry?
The toilets aren't pumped that often, but we do the cleaning in the toilets. But we have the porta potties at Miles.
I thought we had decided to take out the. pit
You're going to come
toilets.
up here, so
Yeah.
who's ever watched it, hope to hear you.
I can't hear, no.
What gallon tank do you have on those pit toilets? Are they 500 or are they 1,000 gallon tank?
Size of those?
What's that?
On the pictures.
Just standard size.
Yeah, they're 500 or 1,000, because usually the 1,000 you don't have to pump out every year, depending on, do you pump them every year?
But they're antiquated, dangerous, and taken out.
Yeah, I thought we had pretty much determined to demolish those or fill them in or take them out or whatever.
But they were open when I showed you.
Oh, I know.
They were accessible. and you
They were, anybody could use them anytime they wanted to.
They're dangerous.
And we have delivery guys and whatnot that use the pit toilet at Old Settlers all the time.
Yeah.
They're truck drivers,
Those are in better shape.
And they just swing in and use the pit toilet and continue their route.
That one's newer than the one at Miles Kimberly, though. And
What do you do
we
for
had
maintenance?
talked
Do you
about
just
both.
replace the
I know
toilet
Miles
paper and
Kimberly
make sure
was
they're-
supposed to go, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about the Old Settlers one, then we took a good look at it and said, no, it's still in pretty good shape.
That one's a lot newer.
Just needs to be cleaned
Yeah.
more often.
Overall, having the porta potties on a cement slab with a certain amount of screening.
Yep.
That's appropriate screening, kind of was where the whole group said, this fits us.
Yep,
Because we don't have the personnel
right.
to be doing a lot of maintenance. We don't have the money to be hiring it out.
Yeah.
Whereas the porta potty people come and maintain them on a regular basis, so
Could we
that's kind
actually,
of where the group was at one point.
Did you spend some money for
we
those?
actually go back to Williams Bay, I believe, who does our porta potties, and ask them to actually do the cleaning and maintenance of pit toilets. I mean, if their people are gonna be there pumping out and doing their porta potty, why couldn't they just go over and do the pit toilet?
I don't think they will. I think they've just got their
Aren't you gonna take those things out of there?
That's what we need to do, a couple different things.
They're dangerous and they need to go.
Yeah, they're
Bottom
dangerous.
line.
and they need to go.
You're gonna seal them and then use the
Seal them
building
around.
somehow for storage? Is that what it was, Jerry?
Pardon me?
You were gonna seal them and then use it for storage? Is that?
What, the pit toilet?
Yeah,
That building,
that building.
Miles.
That building only has electrical at, Miles Kimberly.
Yeah.
Just one room for electrical box. Rest of it is pit toilets for women.
So maybe demolished, you're saying?
Yeah,
That'd be a
that's-
smart move. We got a liability sitting there. We really do. It's dangerous.
They can demolish for
Do
sure.
we want this plan to say
reflect
anything
that.
about the removal of the pit toilets at Miles Kimberly or Old South?
I think it definitely needs to be
Well,
our goal to
both
get them
settlers
on
is
down
fine.
there.
Sorry, Cam, I can't hear you.
Oh, you say Old Settler is fine, but we say Miles Kimberly should go. Jerry's adamant, right?
So we're saying both, right?
Well,
Both.
I know the neighbors don't like the pit toilet situation, Old Settlers. It's been an ongoing issue for
Yeah, the
years.
guy,
Those
the
are
guy who
pretty-
lives next door to the pit toilet doesn't like it.
And
Those
we
are in
can't-
night-
We can't keep up with them and the porta potty companies are understaffed, so they're not gonna take on our pit toilets anyway. They're just not, because they don't have staff to do it. They don't have the equipment, the cement floors and.
Do they have to add any more porta potties if you eliminate the pit toilets, does that mean you have to add another porta potty somewhere else, or is it just?
In the case of Old Settlers, I would think that we would probably fill the existing pit. Concrete,
Mhm.
put a concrete slab. in
And then
it,
put a
just
porta potty on top.
Porta potties on the slab.
Cause you already have a slab on the other side of the park that you're all
When
set.
we have a slab on the other side of the park for a couple of toilets.
So I'm gonna take goal 2 objective, add permanent seasonal restroom to parks if needed. I'm just gonna strike that, if that's okay. And then, it's gonna cost money for the demolition. Are you gonna do it yourself in-house? Do you wanna have it as a capital item? The demolition of the Old Settlers?
Expense or capital layer.
That's kind of a maintenance thing. That's why I'm asking.
You have to put out an RFP. We would have to put out a request for a proposal.
Yep.
To see what,
But would it be an expense item or is it a capital item to demolish?
comes out of the
existing
same
structure?
pot of money.
That's why I'm like, should we add it to this? That's your question.
I mean, looking at our budget line items, would it go under the capital line item or would it go under an expense line item?
Don't know. Good question.
Okay,
Well, it's not maintenance.
anyway, I think that resolves what we're gonna talk about for those pit toilets and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
The need statement.
I don't-
Putting a demolition thing.
We can put it, do you want me to put it in here? Okay. Do you want it to be item number 1 in 2025 above Veronica Valley Accessible Pathway Grant Application?
Let me ask the question, do you want to do? You got pit toilets at Mount Kimberly, and you got a pit toilet at,
Old Settlers,
excuse me,
Old Settlers.
also, you
Yeah.
want to get rid of all of them at one time?
Well, it sounds like that's what you want to
I
do.
think we might as well.
But I'm just saying that if you're gonna do that, you'd put out a proposal.
Yep.
Say,
Do them
what's
both.
it gonna cost to, a proposal to remove everything, get it out of the site, fill, blah, 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 blah. Have a flat surface of dirt with grass seed on top.
I don't know what remediation is required for after you pump it out. You have to dig
Well,
out
that's
certain level of dirt.
No, you just pump it out and fill it in. That's what I do for the state parks all the time.
Yeah.
It's
So
not
that's-
fancy.
well, That's what we would find out. And then if you wanna come back and do something different, put concrete pads down, that's another question. Or you can have it and put it in there. Now, if we want a concrete pad for it at the same time when you're done, X, Y, Z to do what you want to eat. Put it out. All you're gonna do is get bids back and see what it is.
I think both locations need a slab, because both locations will need porta potties
Yeah.
where the pits were.
I think so.
If they were done right, or if they were done a certain way, you don't need new slabs because, they may have a slab in there for the pumping out and, I don't know, new slab. So, the question is, and I'll figure out how much that costs. That's not a big deal. I have bids from previous projects. Do you want it to be the first item on your capital improvement schedule on page 66?
I think it's a good spot for it.
All right.
An attention grabber.
Yeah.
I'm just getting rid of it.
There you go.
Okay.
So
We
goal,
can agree on that.
goal 3 pertains mostly to objectives of having barrier-free universal access abilities to all of our facilities essentially.
Is this someplace that we could maybe expand a little bit to reflect the, our first public comment speaker about making, the youth, the playground more as a consideration? I mean, obviously it would all be determined grants, but
Yeah.
I think it would be a nice way to say that, make sure that that's reflected in our.
And the playground that she brought up that is very standard for the new universal playground facilities. All of the items that she spoke about are readily available and used, and we do them all the time. They have come up with some fantastic universal components.
Is that the word that you used? You said universal?
Universal, it's universal because like an accessible everyone knows a merry-go-round, right? It spins around on metal thing. The accessible merry-go-rounds are a plastic piece where they have seats where you sit in them. You still have to transfer onto them. So that would be accessible. In universal, you roll directly onto them and they spin. Like it's over and beyond accessibility. It makes it so everybody can use it exactly the same way. And all of the things that she mentioned are, they are expensive. They're very grantable. And that's what you're looking at. Because Miles Kimmerly, the playground replacement is the only one you have on here for replacement, and you should evaluate that. $150,000 is not going to cover those kind of things. However, there's some other, I was gonna look up what she had, and it sounds like that was a community built situation, which is easier said than done. However, it's very possible, and I believe you have a community that would do that. I will take a look at, I'm gonna look up the playground she actually talks about. Can somebody give me that little piece of paper?
I can.
Yeah, so, and to see, we may not, 150 won't cover it, but to see if we can pick and choose elements of that would satisfy all the needs, just not to that
I
extent.
guess I just want to make sure that.
I'm gonna add it to objectives for, yeah, I will.
Broadens it a little bit in case that is a path we want to go down.
I'm just gonna provide universal accessible
Are you
playground.
familiar with that Frog Hollow?
Yeah, because I know Rebecca who designed yeah, I am.
And that is,
I did-
that is a nice little.
And was one of the first of its kind to have all those elements.
It was
Because
recognized.
she, because it's all poured in place surfacing the rubber, and it was done like 10, 15, I mean, it's been quite a while, but it's one of the first of its kind.
And it was all pretty much corporate funded.
Yes, it was. That's
So there was very little expense. It was
to
all
the city,
corporate.
I know. And now that's their standard.
Under the same goal number 3 objectives. You
Yep.
can remove the one about we provide barrier-free universal permanent restroom buildings.
Yep, restroom buildings are all gonna go.
Anybody have any questions on goal number 4?
You might have like promote recreation or. No, it's in there, recreation is in there a few times.
This was just cultural and historical and cultural.
And what cultural heritage?
Is your microphone on? Not
I
hearing
think
you.
so.
How about the environmental part too? Is that, I mean, like environmental education, is that included in historical and cultural, or is there another?
I put it somewhere else. Hold on. I moved your goals and objectives. I changed them all around because they were very park specific, and I tried to make them universally. And let's see.
As long as it's in here somewhere.
But the poor farm is historical.
Right.
So what is the cultural heritage we're driving for?
And you're gonna have to help me because there's an acronym in here. LCHPS.
Leelanau County.
Historic preservation. So it says fully collaborate with them to promote cultural history of the barn site. That's how we,
And I think the cultural part can be the Anishinaabe part. or as well as just the history of the Boer Farm itself.
Came up, tell me what you just said again, because we went into,
What LCHIP stands for?
no, the one before to make
Oh,
sure.
the environmental,
And
like
environmental.
environmental education. I think that was,
Yeah.
you know, like Veronica Valley is huge on that, so we, you know,
That was
signage.
in the original.
Yeah, so we don't want to
It's,
lose that.
I want to make sure I have it in the right spot.
Boards that have the,
Well, you would have the monkey flower at the other part,
Totally, yeah.
but
That's already there.
then again, how do you want to advertise that so people aren't picking?
well, we've got the overlay, so that's pretty solid.
And the actual location is not that accessible unless you come in from the water side.
I'm gonna put the environmental education, I think, because I don't know, in goal 6, environmental sustainability, because that kind of fits in that spot.
Thank you.
Because that'll fit in there. And then there's signage all parks, interpretive. Oh, I have educational signage, and we'll do environmental. So it'll be in a couple of spots.
Thank you.
We got done with the goals now, 5 and 6. Anything on 5, 6, or 7?
Yeah, that's where your 7 talks about your invasive species removal. And 7 really is collaboration with the other groups. I kind of put them all in one.
And the other groups that your park collaborates with that we don't have listed?
The tree and shrub planting, not to broach the subject again, is in this goal.
The disc golf community, but I don't find it listed group.
Yeah.
It's just.
I mean, we do have a goal to create a friends group for each park. Although I think the Old Settlers annual picnic committee kind of is like a friends group.
Yeah.
And then one like women's group that does the garden is.
That's in here too. Yep. Sustain the ongoing collaboration. Yep.
All right, so moving on to the next section, which is the capital improvements projects. My question is, are they in the correct order that we'd like to see them done?
The bathroom, number 1.
Yes, I'm sorry. 2025 is.
One thing that's missing from the whole list, Tiffany,
Yeah.
one thing that's missing from the whole list is the universal access trail from our Kimberly. It's a 3-stage thing, 3 different loops connected to make it.
I combined it. So Miles, Kimberly, wait. Playground replacement and accessibility. And I have, where did I put how much it was? I have $150,000 for it.
Also, the accessibility is the loop.
I combined them together because the playground and you can make them 2 separate ones, but the way it was shown in the master plan, it was kind of together.
Yeah, but the playground's on one side of the road and the loop trail is entirely on the other side of the road.
It is. Do you want to separate them out?
I would separate them.
All right. Then I'm gonna make the playground $150,000 because it'll help you toward your universal accessibility. All right. Accessibility.
Like I said, I took out the birding and wildlife viewing areas.
Yep.
After discussing with Dave Barron's. I really put this, the items in 2030 are actually outside of the time frame for the plan. They're just kind of placeholders. I took a good look at the stairs at Old Settlers going down to the dock. They're getting to look pretty bad.
How communities usually use this is you try to get as many things as you can do in 5 years based on the funding you have. And then the items that are like 2030, let's just say we're great and we get all the way through 2028. Those just move back up to the top and then new projects get filled in, if that makes sense. I have some plans that have had the same project on there for 20 years and it just keeps getting moved. Because you don't want to lose it, but yeah.
I mean, this would essentially be our submittal to the planning commission for the CIP. And then they get to prioritize and move everything around anyway.
Well, and also we have priorities on here. That does not mean it's just a roadmap. If next year you decide that you have to do those restroom buildings in the Poor Farm for some reason, you can certainly do them. I mean, it doesn't have to go in this order. It's just what you deem the priorities at this time.
Rich, yeah, where are we with the Old Settlers Park property across the road? Where are we in that?
I haven't had any feedback except for the one individual, so it's still on my list to send out a letter to the 3 property owners and see if they're even interested, so.
I missed the blank one at the bottom. I always put acquire property as it becomes available. I missed that on the sorry. That's just in case, something like that.
What was it?
The only one that is really interested, the only individual who's interested is the one that was in the middle. He's the only one that's interested. He was gonna reach out to his neighbors and they never got back and he went back to wherever he lives. So it's a letter I need to write to see what would happen, so.
Is it? Okay, so the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund has monies available, a lot of monies for acquisition, for expansion of parks. And you have to have a willing seller, number one, but some,
This is not an acquisition we would make, this is us.
I'll have to show you on a map.
Oh.
It's property that was bought back, what, 1916? I don't know, we acquired it.
I just asked because I thought if we could dispose of it before the end of the year, it wouldn't have.
you don't want it. Okay, never mind. Shut up.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's that-
Oh,
it's that triangle.
Hillside.
uh-huh, I
That's what we're
understand.
trying to see. if
And
the
you're gonna
neighbor-
try to see if the adjacent property owners want it.
Yeah, there's easements on there, and in fact, there's one driveway that doesn't even have an easement that we.
Gotcha.
So it's not gonna be.
That's not part of this, but yeah.
Tiffany, can I ask, in 2027, the Miles Kimberly refurbished tennis courts, does that include pickleball?
No, because they wanted that separate, so we had to put 4 new ones in.
But could we like leave it in that you could strike it for both? Or-
Yeah, absolutely. I thought there was a lot of discussion, like, only we want to keep the tennis courts and put the new ones in. So
As a compromise, isn't that what we decided that?
That's
you know,
good.
I'm-
We discussed it, but didn't compromise.
Oh, I think compromise is way better than putting them off until 2029.
So refurbished tennis courts with dual,
I'm just, you guys said no to that, I missed that.
And the issues with dual lining is now you have to have a schedule for which group can use it when. And then maintain it and,
In Leland, we just push it around and then we play pickleball, and we push it around and then we play.
yeah, it's not that simple.
It isn't.
Not
It
that
is
simple.
Yes, it is.
The arguments you're gonna get with people wanting to use it at the same time for either thing, and the tennis community going, no, we're losing our tennis court. Because the
We had to do
pickleball
that.
people are always here.
In my neighborhood, we actually had to put a physical schedule that Mondays is for tennis, Tuesdays is for pickleball. And
there are 2 courts there, right?
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm,
I mean,
Okay.
I would,
So
I
you
think if
could-
you wanna do anything, let's move up the pickleball.
you could do
Out of 2029 into 2028
one
or 2027.
only and then 2. Could you take one of the courts and just stripe it only for tennis? And then the other second one, dual stripe it for 2 pickleball courts? Because that's,
Is there required fencing between them?
Well, it wouldn't have.
well, basically you'd have 2 kinds of fences and they're kind of they're portable ones. I don't know where you store them though. I mean,
they're long and they are, well, we store them in our clubhouse now for the winter.
it seems
And
like
the wind blows them around real easy.
we could,
I think we're gonna be prepared from hearing back from the pickleballers. And then we made some sort of compromise. at
This
least on
this
paper.
is open now. We've got it on paper for 2029 to install the first 4 pickleball courts. Do we move it up to 2027?
and have it along with the same.
And we go along with the refurbishment of the tennis courts.
We could go to 2030 and pickleball won't be as popular maybe.
You know, I'm gonna tell you, I thought and hoped and wished that was the case. However, I don't believe it's going anywhere.
It's gonna be the case.
Pickleball courts were on the agenda on our CRP for in 2017.
I've been doing them since, I do 6 to 8 a year and for the last 10 years. Yeah, it's
I
not,
just know we have a lot of people asking for that, and I know we did in the survey.
Yeah,
so
so let's
I
move it
would
up.
say, yeah, 2029 is not respecting that input at all.
And let's move it up to 2027 at the same time as we refurbish the tennis courts.
yep.
It could be a goal, we may not achieve it, but.
Well, it does say recreation in your plan, and that's,
That's right.
It's gonna be up to the Board of Commissioners to give us the money.
It's true. All right, so I'm gonna move it up there.
Thank you.
Otherwise, kind of did kind of one of each every year. And yeah, well, or a grant application, because the projects that I know you'll be able to get grants for, and I know, Richard, you were talking about that grant agreement or the form on how you have to do it. I write grant applications, but you have to pay me regardless of whether I get the project or not, just because that's what needs to go into it. This year, if you decide to go for this Veronica Valley Accessible Pathway Grant application, it's not going to make your November 30th deadline, because the applications are due April 1st. I'm just saying, like.
No, it can make the deadline by April 1st.
Okay, I just didn't know if the county had to.
No.
I
I'm just giving an example of.
Okay, I just was like,
Some grants that were moving forward. So if you wanted to do that, April 1st, so you got March, February.
You gotta
have to have a request in front of the county commission for the February meetings to say, go ahead and put together a grant application.
listen to what he's saying, because that's when I need to start it too, because there's
So,
public
but that
input
would
and a
also mean
hearing.
that you have to have the information into the county administrator as well as finance director to go through it all to say, yeah, this meets our plan, what we'd like to see happen, blah, 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 blah. From that, then it goes to the county, so that has to happen in January sometime.
Yeah, okay.
Then it goes onto the February calendar.
Yep.
For the commission to look at, to say, yeah, that's a good idea, it meets all the goals that we want to do. Go ahead, put together an application to bring back for our approval.
Yeah, okay.
And that application is done, you have to have it done by the meetings in March.
Yep, and that's
And
where the
then-
adoption has to
And
happen.
it gets approved, everything gets done, and then the county submits it by the deadline.
So I'm telling all of you that you need to, in your January meeting, talk about that. Whether it's me or someone else that writes your grant application, that's when you need to do all, like every year, January is when you need to talk about grants.
That's how you back it up. April 1st is the
Yeah.
deadline, so start backing up, and you back up to say, here's
January.
when the county body meets.
And-
Here's when it meets here, and then here's where it's gotta be here. It's all backwards.
And that's how it usually is. They always pretty much start in January. One thing that, I'm gonna bring this up, it doesn't remember. Lauren wanted to make sure it was in the meeting minutes. You guys have to get your MI rec grants administrator person figured out. The sign in.
Well, supposedly, I guess that's the discussion we wanna have, because according to some folks, the only two people who are qualified to be that person is the county clerk and the county treasurer.
I
By
don't-
the rules as they understand.
So I'm telling you all this because I can't submit this plan until you have the login and password. And I also need some information to put it out on Monday that's in your MI grants. It's the Veronica Valley grant that you got. It's in the grant history. So you need to figure that out.
Well, then you and I will have to sit here.
No problem. I just, it can be a lot of different people, but somebody's gotta get that. It's stupid.
I understand.
But yeah, all right. But back to, is this order good for everybody? I mean, have you looked at it in depth? Is there anything on here that is a project that you think needs to move up or down? I'm imagine your disc golf's probably like $25,000 now based on timing.
Did you change the total project cost on the disc golf?
No, I have an asterisk by it, and when Kama gives it to me, I'll bump it.
It was 21,606.
Oh, well, fabulous.
Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna do 22,000 even.
606, 22,000, fine,
I'm doing 22,000.
or 25.
Hammer point in 21,606.
22,000? Okay.
I think it's like at the gas station, they don't say $23, they say $22.99.
I know, right?
All right, so we got the order, and, I mean, I have no clue as to what, you know, the estimates we put in, but I'm assuming those.
They're very close, and as I'll tell you, this is my best estimate based on construction costs today. When it comes down to 2027, you gotta reevaluate the costs because things change. It's better now. After COVID, the prices are a little more consistent, as everyone can attest to, but they're my best guess. And when you go for a grant application, you start the project, you have to do a cost estimate because that's just the way to do it.
Pitfall is got who's over 2025.
Number one, demolition of the restroom buildings and concrete pads for the porta potties. Do you want enclosures, like porta potty enclosures too? Do you have fences around them?
We had
No.
discussed it for Veronica,
But we
we didn't do
actually,
any estimates or anything.
did you decide against it too?
Yeah, we did.
It's a place people hide in there.
Vanity thing, I would say.
Yeah.
For safety.
We have the doors facing the back of the car.
Yeah.
Every time it doesn't look, who cares? I mean, when you're driving into a park, you want to know where that potty is.
Would I have to get another estimate then for the pathway based on, because this is, the one I got was spring.
I'm pretty sure I jacked yours up, didn't I? I put $100,000 on it.
Oh, yeah, because my estimate was 49.
I know.
Charlie, did you want to move up the old settlers stairs though? You just
No,
had this-
I'll leave it out there. I mean,
Okay, but you said
it's
they
gonna
were
be
bad.
based upon what happens to the stairs we have, and when they get to the point that they really should be replaced, then we need to make the decision about how to replace them. Right now, they're not.
Accessible.
There's no universal access, there's
There's
no
no access.
ADA compliance, so what do we do when they have to replace them? The only one that I would bring up as far as old settlers is, you'll notice there's two possible estimates for the gazebo.
Yeah,
One is to refurbish it like we had said to do, which is, it's neither ADA compliant or universal access because of the stairs.
yep.
I don't know if we could actually remove the substructure and leave the platform and the rest of it and lower it down to the ground level.
No,
No? Okay.
it's not in
Or-
good enough shape to do that. I'm sorry.
Or demolish the existing one and replace it with another one that's at ground level and accessible.
And that's the S,
Or
oh yeah.
replace the stairs with a ramp.
Well, at one time though, and we were looking into that, see, you're probably gonna have to help me, a while ago. We were told we really don't have to do either because it's an existing
Right.
facility and.
You don't have to make it accessible, but it's just the right, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, and one of our goals
Well,
for this
it's-
plan
it
is
might- The
accessibility.
right thing to do, like, for what though? I mean, some people are married and it's 4 steps, right?
I know, it's just not accessible. So if you had,
It's not
if somebody was in a chair or had some disability, they wouldn't be able to get married in it. It's historical, so you don't have to do anything. But if you want
They
to,
just said there were other ways of handling that situation if it came to be such a, because now there's a chapel. If they want to get married in a chapel, that also is not accessible. So they just said it's grandfathered and we can just refurbish it as it is and let it be known that it is what it is.
And I mean, this is a project that's in 2025 on the schedule. We should start looking at it and taking action and figuring out exactly what we want to do. I mean, we went out for bids twice on the refurbishment
I
and
know.
failed both times.
I know.
the $160,000 is a pure metal structure. It'll have a tongue and groove underneath, but it has some ornateness and it's a little more expensive than I thought it was gonna be. But basically you put that in and you never have to replace it. There's nothing you have to do for maintenance forever.
Chelsea, I saw a similar one, I think it was on Mackinac Island, and it was, I think it would have been accessible if I remember right. But it was so much bigger, and this one is not very.
Oh, I costed a small one because I didn't, I wanted to have a good budget, but that's what that is. So, I mean, it's just a long-term
Any
kind of.
final comments on the plan as it is before you right now? Okay, because I'm gonna make a motion at this point.
Okay.
Probably a good idea.
I move to recommend that the Board of Commissioners set a public hearing on the Leelanau County Parks and Recreation Plan, February 2025, for December 17, 2024, at 6:30 p.m. in the county commission chambers. Thank you.
That was.
Oh, I thought this was the.
No, that's what the county board's gonna say.
That's the county board's gonna do, okay.
Yeah, that's.
So my motion by me,
You do not make
By
motions
the-
as chair.
Right.
You only make motions at.
I would make the motion.
Okay.
all right,
I make a motion that the Leelanau County Parks and Recreation Commission recommends to the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners that a public hearing on the proposed Leelanau County Parks and Recreation Plan on February 2025 plan be set for Tuesday, December 17th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. And furthermore, that the plan be considered for adoption at the regular meeting of the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners on December 17th, 2024.
So,
okay, so any support?
Support.
Motion and support, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah,
That's all you need.
good one.
Go back to the agenda. So now,
That was the second part of your agenda. That was B.
so the next thing is reports and updates. So if anybody, anything you want to say about Miles Community Park at this point?
Nothing I have.
Okay, went to the old Settlers Park today, the dock is out and aligned on the shoreline. That's when I noticed the condition of the stairs, which are, when you took out the bottom platform for the stairs, it really looks, they're getting well used. I don't know if we have to do some maintenance on them next spring before we put them back in. And that's really all I've got. Settlers, and anything for Veronica Valley?
Just changes in the plan that we discussed, and otherwise, I think we're pretty good.
Then we're back to public comment. Anybody
Charlie,
want-
could we adopt, or could we approve the minutes now that we've all had them, or is it too late because we're not on that part of the agenda?
If you want, but no, we can.
Okay.
We don't need two sessions.
Okay.
Our apology.
We're back to public comment. Is there any member of the public that'd like to make a comment at this time? No? Okay. And you put down, question, is this item necessary for staff comments at the end?
Yeah.
I just think if you've heard anything during the meeting or whatnot that, you want to make a comment about, it's available to you to make a comment.
I don't think you have to worry about me making comments,
Okay.
but fine, I just wanted to.
All right. Commissioner comments, anybody want to say anything additional at this point?
I'm good.
All right, and Chairperson, thanks for all the consideration today. Been a little bit of a longer meeting than normal.
Well, we had one meeting, we had a month off, so this is kind of average.
I didn't think I was gonna, I took the ferry at noon. I didn't think I was gonna make it to this meeting on time. That's why we adjusted it all for me. So that's the reason I'm in dirty clothes, because I was walking around up north.
Okay. Do I need to ask for a motion to adjourn, or can I just adjourn the meeting? Adjourn, meeting's adjourned.
Yes.
Questions?
What is number down there?
Yeah.
Did
Yeah, I
reference,
was trying
the
to,
overall cost estimate for each part. Those are the ones. So Miles Kimberly has a
I never
cost
got,
estimate.
I
of
missed my birthday. I was when you guys.
every project that you're going
This was the latest edition that came out.
It's item number, so M. It's number 24 on the list for process.
I wanted to look, but I just didn't.
It's that spreadsheet I sent you.
It's supposed to be like.
It's that spreadsheet I sent you,
Main headway.
numbers on the conceptual design.
Kind of like the, you know, let's get this grant roll, let's just do something.
It's pretty painful.
It is.
I don't care what it is.
Right now, it's nobody.
I know it is, and it's not, it's gonna become, it's gonna
There's
start.
something that my treasurer, my finance director saying, under the rules, it's got to be the highest
All
person,
right.
Yeah.
I'm
which
working
is,
upward.
in this county, is the clerk
Till next time.
and
Uh-huh.
or the treasurer.
Are those people gonna, are they, because I mean, this is what you're gonna use forever and ever. It's really hard to change once you change it. So if it's, here's what you end up using this for. Use it to submit this plan. You gotta check a box. So I have to call that person. I can't. And then once you submit a grant application, they have to help me submit the grant application. Once you get the grant, then they have to do the reimbursable expenses, which might make sense to have it be the clerk, but basically reimbursable, you know, like you pay
Well, that's where you would
$100,000.
put in your finance director in there. You can add people to this.
You can. I just need somebody who makes me a consultant so I can get the documentation and upload this to the, you don't actually have to have it by the first 5 year, or by Monday when we put it out for public review. We have to have this figured out, otherwise I can't submit the plan.
I understand. I got it.
I don't really, I mean, again, the clerk, the finance director, it's probably more prudent that it's the clerk.
Might be because the finance director, the treasurer is the one that's going to take in the money.
Yeah, and what you have to do for your reimbursables is you just do a copy of the invoice and a canceled check, and that's how you upload it. So, just,
That's gonna be.
and
time
whoever
limited.
that person is, and when the emails start going around,
We don't have.
just
one.
include me.
So you have to buy the
It's,
water.
all they need is username and password, and quite frankly, they could give that username and password to Lauren, and she could handle it, but
Yeah.
it's their name that's
Or
listed on
you,
there.
or you can ask the Glen Lake Fire Department.
It's always a pain in the butt. Like the mayor of Kenwood is it, because that's who they decided to do it. And I talked to him on Saturdays sometimes, and I believe his password is Tiffany is nice. Like, it's just, it's so dumb.
Okay.
And I think we're good here. I'll make the changes and.
So if you want a copy of that, but I'm going to do some more modifications. That's what I got to put in the packet for the county commission to set the public
Well,
hearing.
you have to buy, you have to get
So
yourself
I'll
a
fill
water
in the
wheel.
blanks. That's the motion
There
they
you
just
go.
made.
I know.
Suck the water out of the pond.
And who's gonna make sure it got done?
Yeah.
Who's gonna?
Yeah, that wouldn't be,
Oh, I gotcha.
I'd step away from that one. myself.
Yeah. We had that
This is
problem with the
really
Lions
crude,
Club. We planted trees and, everybody was gonna help water.
Okay, so Friday I will give you the plan. Gotcha.
You
Thanks.
can fill in the blanks.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you.
I got one.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm worried about that.
Well,
Where's the vacuum out back?
I have first people that come in and clean.